Hello and welcome to another edition of the Sunday Recap. I'm your host, Scott Marler. We're coming to you from Memorial United Methodist Church like we do every single week. And one of my favorite rooms in this whole building, the old library. It's full of old books and it smells like old books and it's just a really fun place to be. So here at Memorial United, we love God, grow faith, and serve others. We do that each and every day, but especially on Sundays. This week, I am so excited. This is our first guest, I would venture to say under the age of 25, probably under the age of 20.
No.
Oh, we had Kennedy. Yep. Sorry. So this is our second guest under the age of 25 because we had Kennedy on once. But now this week I have Finnly Ava. Finnly, how are you?
I'm good.
You're good?
Yes.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us how old you are and what you do here at the church and kind of how you found yourself at Memorial United and the stuff that you are a part of.
Oh, well, okay. I'm 12 and, well, I mean, you're my dad, so that's kind of like how I'm here. Part of the youth group. I mean, that's...
Yeah, you're part of the youth group, right? Which are the...
Mountain Movers.
Mountain Movers. So proud of the Mountain Movers. Do you do anything else? Are you part of any other groups at the church?
I mean, I sometimes sing in the choir.
I was going to say I couldn't find you this morning, and I frantically was looking around because I knew Finnly was going to be a part of the podcast today. I booked her last night, and I was frantically looking around because I couldn't find her, and she came walking out with the choir, and I was like, duh, she's in the choir.
I mean, I didn't see you sitting up there, so I was worried that you were worried, and I was like, oops.
Yeah, but I found you. I located you. So how long have you been going to church here?
I don't know.
Oh, about a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I don't know.
So you're a part of the youth group.
A while.
Do you do anything else here at the church? You've done mums a couple times. Yeah. Anything else? What grade are you in?
I'm in 7th grade.
7th grade. How are your grades?
They're perfect.
Perfect?
They're phenomenal.
I would say they're decent.
What more do you want?
Well, I think you had a little bit of a low grade in math.
It was a 92. No, that was a 93.
It was a 93, yeah, out of 100.
I want to see you do better.
That's like 8 more percentage points you could have gotten. You're terrible at math. See, I did that intentionally wrong. It's 7 more percentage points.
I don't care.
Point proven. Anyway, you'll be happy to know we're doing nothing that has to do with math today.
You said like. Like is like about, and about is kind
so
of.
We're gonna do something that has absolutely nothing to do with math today.
Good.
Good, I know.
Because apparently I suck at math.
No, you're very good at math, and I'm very proud of Finnly. She is a lot of fun to have around the church, and I am very privileged to have her on this podcast today. So thanks for being a part of this. So let's knock this out. All right, so today we are in the Gospel of Luke. Mm-hmm. So we're continuing. Actually, today is the last day in the sermon series about humility. Did you know that?
Yeah, he said that.
He did say that. So that means last week was his penultimate. Do you know what that means?
Nope.
If you watch the podcast, you would know what penultimate means. Maybe that'll be your homework. Figure out what penultimate is.
Why can't you just tell me?
I bet you don't do it. All right. So today we read about the parable of the Pharisee and the tax collector. So we're in Luke chapter 18. We're going to read verses 9 through 14. All right? I'll read it.
Okay.
Okay? Because your reading grade was a little low too.
It was a 92.
He also told this parable to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and regarded others with contempt. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee, standing by himself, was praying thus: God, I thank you that I am not like other people, thieves, rogues, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week. I give 1/10 of all my income. But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even look up to heaven, but was beating his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his home justified rather than the other. I'm sorry. I tell you, this man went down to his home justified rather than the other. For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, but all who humble themselves will be exalted. Maybe you get your reading skills from me. That was terrible.
And my math skills. Remember that?
Yeah. I helped her with some homework and she missed a couple questions.
I failed the whole paper.
Anyway, moving on. What was your favorite part of this week's sermon?
I don't know.
Well, I'll give you some ideas and maybe you can build on them.
Okay.
Okay. So, first of all, Jesus always seems to talk in parables. Do you know what parables are?
Like mini stories.
Yeah, they're kind of like mini stories that like
have a point. Yeah.
Maybe multiple points, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they could not, it's not necessarily just one point, but it's like, you know that old saying?
It's like a lesson.
Yeah.
In a story.
So it's important, I think, to understand sometimes that like this may or may not have really happened, right? Like
it could have just been made up, or it could have been like some of it might have been true and some of it might not have.
Well, Jesus is using them as an example. And today, Pastor Beaton gave them a name, right?
Fred and Jeff. Yeah. Fred
so
and Jeff.
Who was Fred?
Fred was the Pharisee.
Fred the Pharisee, and Jeff?
The tax collector.
Jeff was the tax collector. And we don't have anything against people named Fred or Jeff, do we?
No.
Not us. Pastor Beaton may, because he named them. But
yeah.
So Jesus tells this parable, and I think that it's awesome that when Jesus speaks, he speaks a lot in parables, and he teaches you a lesson. But it's kind of open-ended. It's kind of, you have to interpret it correctly, right? Or interpret it, and hopefully you interpret it correctly.
You have to find out.
Yeah,
what it is.
It's not just like, it's not like math.
I mean, this one kind of says it.
Kind of. It kind of does, and we'll get there. But it's not like math, right? Where it's like 1 + 1 = 2.
It's not right in front of your face.
Right, because Jesus speaks this way, and he's like, 1 + 1 = 2, but
Maybe.
2 - 1 also equals 1, and 1 + 3 - 2, and it's all in one story, and you're kind of going, oh man, that's true too, right? That's what I catch myself doing in parables. So anyway, he tells his parable of the tax collector and the Pharisee, right? So what was the Pharisee doing?
Okay, so the Pharisee was there like thanking God because he's not like the tax collector or like other people who aren't, I don't know how to say it, like good.
Yeah, who aren't following Levitical law.
And he was bragging about how good he is.
He was kind of being what I call like, I don't know the nice way to say this, but he was being very, I don't know, not sarcastic, not sardonic, but he was just being somewhat, yeah, he was being boisterous. He was being condescending, right? Because he was saying, oh, dear God, thank you for making me so wonderful.
Phenomenal.
Yes, thank you for not making me like that person and that person and that person.
And you know what makes me better is because I fast 2 days a week. And what else did he do?
He tithed 10% of his salary.
Can you believe that?
So the thing about it is like, he says, first of all, yes, like Pastor Beaton was saying, are those things true? They are. You should pray, and you should fast, and you should tithe.
Yeah.
But that doesn't...
I mean, you go around being like, guess what I do?
Right.
You need to be humble about it.
You need to be humble. Very good. You caught the thread. So humility here. He prayed with no humility. With none. Right? But he wasn't wrong. The things he was saying, thank you, God, for making me obedient.
Maybe, like, he was thanking God and he was praying, but maybe he wasn't praying about the right thing. Maybe he wasn't praying or thanking God about what he should have been
That's
doing.
a good point. That's a really good point. So now that was Fred the Pharisee, right? What was Jeff doing?
Jeff, like, well, I know I heard him say it a lot. He couldn't even, like, get himself to heaven.
He couldn't even look.
Like, he was just, and he was asking God for forgiveness for what he did, for being a rude clack.
It said he was beating his breast because he was so just
disappointed in himself.
Yes. So when you read this, then the next line says, I tell you, this man went down to his home justified rather than the other. For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, but all who humble themselves will be exalted.
So it's kind of like saying Fred, he'll, like, get karma because he's, he's bragging.
I don't disagree. I think that that's the easy answer here. I think that the easy answer is to look at that and say, Jeff, we all need to be like Jeff. But think back to what I said about, and what Pastor Beaton said about Fred the Pharisee. He said it's not necessarily that we don't need to be like him, right? It's that we need to be like both of them.
We need to be a better version of Fred.
What we need to take what the tax collector, because remember, the tax collector is not a good person.
No.
He is not the Romans, what Pastor Beaton to quote here, he's not the Roman version of the IRS. He squeezed every penny from every person that he could possibly squeeze from them, and then he paid a set amount to have the legal right to do that. So he's not a good person. So I don't think that Jesus here is saying you should be like a tax collector.
He's saying that you need to ask forgiveness for your sins.
He's saying that, yes, do you need to do these things that the Pharisee is bragging about? Do you need to do those things? Do you need to tithe? Do you need to pray? Do you need to thank God for the gifts that he's given you?
Yes.
But
not necessarily in the way that he is.
You also need to be like the tax collector.
And ask for forgiveness.
That's the key here. I think, in my opinion, and kind of what Pastor Beaton was saying, is that we need to take both of what they're doing and do both of them. You know what I'm saying? So I'll tell you a quick story.
Okay.
Before you were born, you were like 1.5 years old, maybe 2 years old. Your mommy and I lived in an apartment in St. Louis. And I had just started working for the railroad. And we were up really late one night just talking, and I was talking about working for the railroad because it was a really good job, right? And I was in the kitchen kind of making myself like some water or something. And
making water, okay.
Well, like putting water in a glass. And I was telling your mommy what a great person I was and how amazing I was. Because I had, at the age of 20 or 21 or however old I was, I had gotten a good job, and I had made it through all the training and all the testing, and I was making good money, and I had been able to rent us this beautiful luxury apartment.
Okay.
And we had the best food to eat, and look at all the things that I had done. And she said, you need to be careful. And I said,
it's going to blow up
why?
in your face.
Look at all these things that I have done. I had zero humility, none. And so 3 weeks later, I was laid off from the railroad due to the economy. I lost my job. Now, do I think that God was punishing me? Do you think God was punishing me?
Maybe.
I don't think so. I think that it is circumstantial and it is happenstance. And I think that, but I'm going to tell you something. I am now much older than I was then. A lot of time has passed, about 10 years. And I look at that situation and I still think about that. And I think about how embarrassed I was because of my lack of humility. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? You got any good stories?
No.
No? What did we miss? I feel like Pastor Beaton talked a lot longer than we did.
I think you did too.
I just think that it's important to note, like I said, that humility is never about us. Right?
Yeah.
So you can't do things and think like, I'm going to do this and get a pat on the back. Yay for me. Right? Even though you do things like you come on my podcast, and I'm going to say thank you for coming on my podcast. I appreciate you being a part of this.
You're welcome.
Now all we have to do is get Lane on here, and it will be a family podcast.
That's never going to happen.
You don't think I should bring Lane on?
No.
Well, you did such a wonderful job. You don't think I should bring him on?
I mean, you can.
I think we should, just to see what would happen. Okay, so at the end of the podcast, I know you know this because I always play it. You always watch it, right?
Every day.
Every day. That's all we watch at our house is this podcast.
I'm not allowed to watch anything else. Please help me.
So we do this we kind of at the end we say all the things that the church has got going on, and we try to mention them. So you have to help me remember. First of all, I want to give a shout out to the youth group. We did Harvest Night on Friday night downtown, and they said that they estimated that like 2,000 people came through.
We did it for 4 hours.
Yeah, for 4 hours. Finley helped me, and Aubrey.
It was
and
cold.
Khalib. We had quite a few.
In Valeska,
we had quite a few mountain movers there. They helped us pass out flyers. We had flyers that were promoting
our trunk or treat Thursday on Halloween.
Yeah, on Halloween. What are you going as?
An angel.
You don't even have to dress up. So, we have the trunk or treat on Thursday, right? That's on Halloween. From like 5:30 to 8, I think.
I don't.
Yeah, 5:30 to 8:30 or 5 to 8, something like that. And then immediately following that, we have the All Hallows Eve service, which I've never been to an All Hallows Eve service.
I've never either.
No?
They're talking about this bell ringing thing in
for
choir before we came out.
I think that as people that have passed away this year,
they're
going to ring a bell and say their name out loud. So that's pretty neat. We know several people that will be talked about. And then we had that go on, the All Hallows Eve service, the trunk or treat. Oh, let's talk about what? You got it?
I was going to say Mom. Well, we are not doing Mom's Thursday.
We're not doing Mom's, but the church is.
They're still doing it?
I don't know.
Because we would have the trunk or treat going on and then the service.
That's a good point. I'm not sure if Mom's is going on or not. Hey, if you regularly attend Mums or you want to know, call the church this week and find out, because I don't know if Mums is happening or not. But I do know what is happening Wednesday night.
Youth group
from
6:30 to 8:30.
Yep, 6:30 to 8:30. And what do? You talk about the youth.
No, thank you.
Come on, tell us what we do.
I don't. You talk.
Okay, so at 6:30,
you're the leader.
At 6:30, we start off and we have a meal together in the small dining room, which is just outside of the fellowship hall, and a different member of the congregation cooks for us every single week, and it's awesome. It's really good food, isn't it?
Yes.
Like I say that on here, but
it is.
From a youth, it is really good.
Last week we had like pulled pork nachos.
And they were fantastic. The game group cooked for us. Alice Johnson and her group, they cooked for us, and it was really good. Pulled pork nachos, and they were delicious.
They brought cupcakes.
It was Lane's birthday, so we had all kinds of stuff. So we got to give Lane a shout out. It was his birthday.
I've eaten a lot of cupcakes this week.
Cupcakes are good, though. So come and see us. If you are a youth, if you know a youth, if you see a youth walking down the street, scream at him. Hey, you should be in youth group.
Go.
6:30 to 8:30. Come and check us out. It's a whole lot of fun. We're trying to plan our winter trip this year, so please come and hang out with us. I promise we have a lot of fun. Then, like Finley said, Mums may or may not be on this week. She's right. Thursday is usually when Mums is at 5 o'clock. I don't know if they're planning on doing it this week or not. And then Sundays, of course, we have 3 services. We have a Sunday, the very first service here is at 8 o'clock. It's the gospel service. Alan Berry leads that. It is awesome. It's a lot of fun. And then
there's the 9 o'clock service.
Yep. And they do that down
in the fellowship hall.
You like that one, yeah?
I don't. Well, we're usually downstairs.
Oh, we'll talk about that. Tell them what that is.
I honestly.
So at 9 o'clock, we go downstairs and we have a youth Bible study, Sunday school type class that we do. And then at 10:30, we come back up here into the sanctuary for our 10:30 traditional service. It's just like your traditional Methodist service. It's awesome. So, hey, look around. If you're looking for a church home, this is a good place to start. You come here. We've got something for everybody, kind of the Neapolitan ice cream of churches.
Name unnamed Pharisees and tax collectors.
We do. Every
exciting.
week we name unnamed Pharisees and tax collectors. Jeff and Fred. That's so awesome that you remember that. So once again, thank you so much for tuning in. Tune in every week. This podcast goes up on Wednesdays on Facebook at 7 a.m. And then it's a little bit later, it'll be on YouTube. YouTube's a little bit easier to share cross-platform. So share it with all your friends. Come back to the Facebook page, like, share, subscribe, ask us questions. Finley, you've got a big chair to sit in this week because Sam last week, I had 2 pastors text me on Facebook and tell me that was their favorite podcast of all time, even beating out Derek.
Well, I mean, you better start texting him right now and telling him that this is your favorite, or...
Well, you have a pastor.
After you.
You have a pastor. You have an in. At least one pastor, I think, this will be his favorite.
Is it you?
No, I'm not. I'm just a youth director.
Well, I mean,
who else in your family is a pastor?
Oh, Papa.
I bet this will be his favorite, and maybe we can get him to share it with everybody. Her grandfather, Heather's dad, is a pastor up in St. Charles of a Methodist church. His name's Jim Blue. Give him a little plug too. So
welcome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. We have so much fun doing this, and this ministry is a part of our church. So once again, coming to you from Memorial United Methodist Church, Scott and Finley signing out. Have a good week.
Bye.